All right. All right. Welcome to another episode of The Catholic Couple Having Fun with Faith, Family, and Friends. I'm your co-host, Bobby Fredrickson. With me, as always, my beautiful wife,
Katie Fredrickson.
I'm the convert Catholic, and she's
the cradle Catholic.
Here we are on a brand new episode with a very special guest. We have Cheri Ballinger from, you probably know her from Instagram and all her different roles, and we're going to get into that. But we just want to say thank you so much for taking the time and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. It's an honor.
Awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to unpack your story. There's a lot that we can cover. So many different roads we can take. So I'm excited for this. So I don't know if you want to just tell us a little bit about your background, and what you currently are doing right now.
Okay, so you're right. I mean, there's a lot to unpack. But my name is Cheri Ballinger, and I am currently a movie producer. I'm a former actress and model for many years. I also had a severe TBI, traumatic brain injury, which really stopped my life. I was down for 4 years. And so that plays a huge role in my story and what has led me to where I am today. And really what has led me to have my motto of be the light, which you guys know, and everyone who knows me knows that that's really been my mission in all the different things that I'm involved with today. And so, I'm a devout Catholic. I was raised Catholic, and it's really been the foundation for everything for me, even more so nowadays. But that's why I really do appreciate podcasts like yours and all of the apostolates like yourselves who really say yes to God, give their fiat to the mission of sharing the beauty of the faith. Because, listen, we know it's the most important thing in life. My Catholic faith is really my number one part of my life, and that makes me who I am. So that's why I'm just delighted. I love talking to fellow Catholics, and I am delighted to meet people like yourselves. And we finally get to meet in person, virtually in person. And, it's such a joy really to share the faith because, so many people are suffering out there right now. A lot of people are in despair, and I am witnessing that. And it really guts me. It does. It affects me because I've been there. And so really, if just one person can be helped by this, whoever's listening to this, just want you to know there is always hope, always. And my story is proof of that. And my life is proof of that. And so that's why it's really just a blessing for me to be able to speak. I had to learn how to talk again, believe it or not. My brothers say I can't shut up anymore.
Yeah. Can you take us? So you were an actress and model.
Yes.
And then, so were you always a practicing devout Catholic? You said you grew up I'm a cradle Catholic, but I had that, I had to do it kind of thing. And then I actually took it seriously eventually when he converted. But have you always had your faith by that? Was it the brain injury itself that brought you into a more deeper relationship with God? Can you just speak to that a little bit on that journey?
Yeah, everyone has their own beautiful mission and journey in life. We all have different stories. I can honestly say, though, that because I had such a strong foundation, I never veered from my faith. And I think that plays into really my personal journey because, okay, so just to back up, I'll back up.
Sure.
My mom is French. And so I get my faith from a very traditional French Catholic standpoint. Huge family, huge French family, lots of religious priests, nuns, you name it.
Oh, wow.
I grew up around that.
Wow.
Yes, in my family. And so for me, it was very normal to be praying the rosary as a family every day. My mom praying with us on the way to school. I went to Catholic school my whole life. I also went to a traditional Catholic school, especially during my later years. And as tough as that was, I'm not going to lie, it was difficult when you're young. You don't really want to have all of those super strict rules.
Yeah.
But
No, I know that.
yeah, when you're in that space and that age, you don't want that. But I
Mhm.
look back now and I see, wow, God, I get your plan now, because I was catechized so well, which a lot of people are not.
No.
And I had that great blessing. And so that actually set the tone and foundation for my life. And so when I was a young girl, I'll give you guys the quick story if you want. My brothers saw this, it was my aunt. My aunt saw this ad in the paper that Disney was remaking The Parent Trap. And I grew up watching all the old films and movies. I loved the old Parent Trap with Haley Mills.
Mm-hmm. I've seen it.
So
yeah.
It's great, right? I loved that movie growing up. And so they were like, they're remaking this movie. Cheri, you should submit yourself. They were looking for girls to be a part of this film.
Of Lindsay Lohan when she did that remake?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
That version too, but go ahead.
It's great, right? Yeah. So one of my brothers, I have 5 younger brothers, by the way. One of my brothers took pictures of me out by the rocks or whatever outside. And I wrote like this letter, and I was bored one summer. I was young and I submitted myself and forgot about it. And one day I came home from school and my mom was screaming and she said, Disney called and you were one of the handful of girls chosen to be in this movie out of like thousands around the world. And
wow,
it was crazy. It was just crazy. It was one of those things. And I got out of school for months, a private tutor on the set. It was Lindsay Lohan's first movie. It was a phenomenal experience. And, if you're going to do a major Disney film for your first film experience ever, I mean, that's pretty epic, right? Pretty epic.
Right.
Yes.
So it was just so much fun, but I was really geeky. And so I didn't pursue it at all. I was not a child star or anything like that. My parents were the most anti stage parents you can imagine. It was never pushed.
Catholic Disney parent. I don't see it. Yeah.
I grew up on like the old Disney and stuff and all the old movies. And so, I didn't pursue it. And so I finished school and I was putting myself through college and I worked at a golf resort in Palm Springs. And there was one day when I was in the dining room and I was polishing forks or something. And these people came in with a camera and they said, would you mind if we interviewed you? We're doing a casting or whatever. And I said, sure, no problem. Would you like an iced tea? Or, I just, whatever. Right. And so I did that on camera interview, whatever it was. And a few days later, I got a phone call that I was booked for a national Callaway golf commercial with Arnold Palmer.
Wow.
Oh, that's cool.
It was epic. Once again, just like this epic thing to happen that I was not pursuing.
Right.
It was crazy. And so things like that started to happen to me. And so you can imagine, me being from a devout Catholic family, the way I was raised, I never pursued this. But after that started happening to me, I felt like, you know what, I think I should try this out. And so I did. And I ended up having a major contract with a beauty company that flew me around the world. And so I did that while finishing university. And then when I would fly home, I'd go to classes and then I would maybe go do a commercial or a print job. I'm still on packaging for random products like hair stuff around the world, just stuff like that. And,
do you ever yourself? Like every board model, and he once in a while I'll see a birthday card with him on the cover of it.
Yeah.
It was done like when we were like,
it was
20 years ago.
Like, oh my gosh, there's me.
It's trippy. It's so trippy. Yeah. But it happens to me every now and again, and it's really cool. And that was my life. And the thing is that I really want to just say for everyone listening, it really does matter if you really raise your kids right with values and you're really on that, like it stays in your mind. And I'm so grateful, so thankful that my parents were that way. And so when I was flying around the world, I always heard my mom's voice in my head. Did you go to mass? You know?
Yeah,
No
that's
matter
what
where I was.
You were
right.
That's a world that definitely is in conflict with our values, right? I mean, were you tempted into a lifestyle that was completely the opposite on a regular basis?
You know, I was so busy and I was in school and I kept myself so busy and I ended up, you know, I'd be lying if I said like I didn't have those opportunities, but you know, I always thought I would never want to do something that I couldn't show my grandparents.
Yeah.
That was always my rule of thumb.
Yeah.
And
have you heard of Leah Darrow's story? Yeah, Leah Darrow's story. Have you ever heard her tell her story? That's what she was in a situation where you know, she was a model. She was on America's Next Top Model, and one of the things, what kind of like made her really change. She was brought up devout Catholic. Same thing was where she was standing. They asked her to take off her clothes for some kind of an ad, and it was just really within that. That was her pivotal moment of discernment, like you know. Yeah. What direction she was going to go in.
And for us, I like that, you know, you're saying that you're glad that your parents did that, because that's our daughter's just turned 11.
Oh, thanks for validating all my parental decisions.
And we are battling it in real time because all of her friends have phones and we don't want to give her cell phones. Yeah. And now we're really conscious about like the chemicals and all the food and all the stuff that
there's so many things that we feel like we're combating,
and it's against everybody else in the world is what they're doing.
And I think it's such a great testament that you were able to be in this world, and that in the back of your mind you heard your mom. Did you go to mass?
Yes.
The basic tenets of the faith that kept you within a state of grace, right? That probably helped guard you from so much spiritual warfare that probably was tugging for you, you know, and trying to get you.
Yeah. And at the time you weren't like, yeah, thank you so much. You're looking out for me, Mom. No, because that's what we tell them. Like, you'll thank us later. And it takes a lot to say no to like their friend and the pressure that they put on you, because they do, you know, she'll say like, I feel left out. All my friends are on group text and this and that. And we try to find ways to not be so, you know, like,
we want to balance. We don't want
to just say no, because then she'll be sneaky and do some other stuff. So there's other not compromises, but to be, you know, not Puritans.
Yeah. And it sounded like, you know, while you came from a very traditional background with a, you know, strict upbringing in the truth of who we are and what our purpose is, it sounds like your parents still, you know, you still acted in the Parent Trap, right? And you still were in positions, and they weren't condemning it, but they were also setting the foundation for you, and it's so pivotal. So our show talks a lot about like parental struggles and marriage struggles, and just through the lens of our faith. And I think it's such a great message to hear, to, you know, stand firm and
chase your dreams, but you could still hold on to those boundaries and your values, and you don't have to compromise those.
Right. But parents, firm.
But the parents are the first step of that, because as we give in, then it's like, okay, then they'll just keep pushing and pushing. But if they know that we're standing there firm, that we're not going to bend, but we're doing it in love for you, not because I said so.
Did you ever feel stifled by your upbringing, or did you feel encouraged? And like, you know, some traditional upbringings can be very strict and not with love, right? Can be cold.
Right.
And so a lot of people who come from those homes can see it as a negative thing and not experience of love. So it sounds like there was some love in that mix, right?
Yeah.
Is that
what did that look like for the parents to, you know, what did that look like practically in the house?
Yeah. You know, you guys bring up so many good points. It's true. Like there was so much love because, you know, again, my mom just being French, it was very cultural, I guess. Now that I look back, I mean, when you're a kid, you don't notice these things because that's just your everyday life. Mm-hmm. But I look back and, you know, my mom's a very loving person. And so it was all done with love. And also, I think what really helped was being put in this traditional Catholic school that I went to. So I was around other people my age who had parents doing the same thing. And I think that that's another really important thing, community, where like you guys are like-minded, because I was around other girls who, you know, their parents also were that way. And so I think it would be hard if I was like the only one, you know. I think that's harder for kids. Community, like you said, that's important. As parents, I think like, just like you guys said, like very much standing firm, but out of love. I did feel like, I mean, it was strict. I mean, don't get me wrong. It was strict, but because I had those things, and also my parents were very much, you know, they were ahead of their time. They actually, because you know, they would explain why. They would explain why, like, this is why instead of saying, okay, you can't do this, you can't do that. Why don't you say why it's not good to do this or to live this way? Because this is what happens to people who do these things. I think explanations are important.
Yes, that kind of dialogue with your kids is so important, because it not only says the whys behind the whats, I call them the whys behind the whats, what we do and why we do it, but it also opens dialogue for them to be able to come to with really difficult situations. So Avery would be at a sleepover or a planning of a sleepover and talk about how she was, you know, nervous about that because they were talking about maybe showing some movies that she wouldn't have been allowed to watch, and how does she approach that? And, you know, I would have never talked to my mom about that. You know what I mean? So just because we have the conversation of why you don't watch these movies, she's able to then, not because I said so, but these are the reasons, and this is what it does to your brain, and the effect that it could have on you. And so with that being said, then she knows the reason behind, so then it opens a dialogue that's more open in our home.
And having a space for them to ask questions, especially about the faith. And that's this generation, all the studies are out that they have questions. And if we just shut them down and not let them say, like, I mean, Israel means we who wrestle with God. It's like, it's okay to wrestle with these ideas and have room for it, but ultimately to let them lead them to the truth in love.
Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely.
I mean, just today, it's hard because, like I said, we were talking about the diet thing. So today, it's hard for them because all their friends are eating nothing but sugar and cupcakes, and every meal is fast food.
That's what they say. That's what they tell us. You know, that's not always true too.
A lot of families, a lot of families are. We're being trained. We have a lot of people have poor eating habits. They just do. So what we do, we're like, well, I showed her some videos like, this is what ramen looks like under a microscope.
She's like, oh, we can't have ramen.
I'm like, that's not good for you. It's like it's like things like that. But once she saw the video, she's like, oh, okay, I see.
She did not. She said, oh, that's
she tried to say at first that's fake. Yeah, she was just denial at first because she does a fake
video. Right.
But that transfers to everything, not just food, but like, hey, you know what? You can't have a phone yet, or hey, you can't be out past 9 o'clock, or you can't sleep over at this person's house, or these tough situations because everybody else is doing it. But it's when you have that community.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in the whys behind the whats, and I'm a principal at a Catholic school, and I think that, you know, when we set rules of kids, like we had a group of girls who were protesting why they can't wear a certain pair of shorts in their gym class or whatever. So I had you know what? No, you know what? This is a good dialogue to have. Let's have this dialogue. Why do we wear a uniform? What is modesty? Why do we have it? What is the whole, like, oh, if you don't want to look, don't look kind of thing, you know, and all this what our modern society is telling young women about themselves and about. So it actually was like, well, let's do this. Let's go there. Let's talk about why that we wear uniforms. Why you're only allowed to have this dress code. Let's do it. And we had an open dialogue. And at the end of the day, it's like, not that they still agree. I was like, okay. I barked, okay, all right. You guys can have, you know, double pierced ears now. You know what I mean? Like, but you can't wear the short shorts. We cool. You can, you know, so you can have polish in the month of May for your, you know, your grade dance. Got it? Just no short shorts. So it was just like a compromise. It was a dialogue. It was the whys behind the whats, because it's like to understand why I said, and I spoke their language. I said, you have a uniform so that everyone has a level playing field and only their ideas shine through and they're not distracted by anything else.
Yes.
Like, don't you want your true self to shine through? And they're like, well, I never thought about it that way. Oh, okay. That's why you don't wear makeup and nails and have all these distractions of labels. That's why we have a uniform, so that everybody's just coming and starting in the same place, level a playing field. And they're like, oh, that's why, it's so once you get into the whys, and then you're able to have the open dialogue, and then they were able to come back and say, yeah, but this is a little much, don't you think? Like, could we? And I said, you know what? That's a compromise right there. Sure. Yeah. And I think that instead of having, no, this is it, if you don't like it, leave our school. That's not a cater. That's not even acknowledging that they have a value and a worth and a way that they can respectfully ask questions as to why things are the way they are. Also shows tenets of our faith and what we should be doing, and also just open dialogue with why things are the way they are.
Yeah,
it helps sets that stage. So back to your story. So you're this not even pursuing it model, right? It just kind of fell in, and it sounds like God really did have a plan for you and was setting up a platform. It really sounds like that. But so then you mentioned having a traumatic brain injury in the mix of that. So were you able to work through your degree in college and set this career up before that happened, or how did that play into it? What happened there?
Yes. Yes. Okay. Yes. Well, you're just bringing up so many memories. I just had so many memories from school when you're talking. All I can think about is like, I just really quickly, I had to kneel down and my skirt had to touch the floor. And if it didn't, you had to have it fixed. Like, that's the level I'm talking about. And
good one. I never heard that one. We did the fingertips when I was young, but I always, I always put my shoulders up.
Yeah.
Or I would go up to when I taught high school, I would go up like, hey girl, you rolled 3 times too many. And then it's time to be like,
Yeah. When you're that age, like, you just don't understand. But I just want to say, like, for the parents, like kids are listening though, because I look back and I think of these things and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm actually really glad I had such a strict upbringing, because then I went into Hollywood, and to be honest, it didn't really affect me. And that's why I was like still a devout Catholic through Hollywood, because I had such a strong foundation. So I just want to say, just to reiterate, it does matter. Like, the dialogue, the whys. I am very grateful for the upbringing that I had, and I learned my faith, and I knew my faith. Like, so I was known as the Catholic girl. I would be in a different city, at a beauty show or whatever, and I would hear my mom's voice in my head, did you go to mass? And so I would see, like, what's the nearest Catholic church? What are the mass times?
AskJames.org.
Yeah. And this was before, like, the internet. I'm aging myself, but this is like before all of that was in existence. And so I would find it and then like sneak off and then go to mass. And I have so many stories of how that affected other people, but I'm really grateful for that. So I say that because leading up to, I went through college, I graduated from university. I, by all standards of the world, I was on top of the world. And, I, again, was so grateful for the foundation that I had, because fast forward to February 11th of 2014, February 11th is the feast day of Our Lady of Lourdes. And I had a great devotion to our Blessed Mother under that title, just with my family background being French, and my devotion to the Rosary being raised that way. So because of that feast day, I actually prayed several rosaries on my way to the set that morning. I was on my way to, I was doing a major movie poster shoot. So I prayed several rosaries in honor of that feast day. And that was the day that I had a horrible fall. I fell from about 7 feet onto the back of my head on concrete.
Oh my gosh.
I'm giving you guys the short version here, but it was horrific. And just in that span of time, I lost just everything.
Yeah.
And the doctors could not believe that I was not paralyzed or dead because the impact was so severe.
Wow.
And I know without a doubt that our Blessed Mother spared my life.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
No question.
That's a beautiful witness.
Yes.
No question.
And I feel sorry for Protestant brothers and sisters who want to doubt the power of our Blessed Mother because
She's always arguing with them.
I'm always
online.
arguing online because I have her tattooed on my arm. I've had those same experiences in my life, and it's just like, if you don't want to, that's fine, but don't like the way that they talk about a Blessed Mother sometimes. It just makes me cry almost. It's like, it's so sad, but
they're missing out.
They're missing out on, obviously we had God the Father. You don't think that he wouldn't put a mother type into our lives and what that model looks like. It doesn't even make sense. There's a new Adam. There obviously had to be a new Eve. But so I'm sorry to interrupt you because it's such a beautiful witness of the power of the Blessed Mother and her intercession, especially Our Lady of Lourdes. It's the miracles.
She's so real. She's so real. And without a doubt, she spared my life. And I really credit the Rosary and her to that. And but everything I had going for me, I just lost because within a certain amount of hours, see, I can't even tell this story without being emotional because it is so real. And I lost my ability to walk, to talk. I lost my memory. I couldn't move without throwing up. I was mostly bedridden, and I was down and out of the world for 4 years.
Wow.
And the doctors said that, I hit a wall in my recovery. I mean, I learned slowly how to walk again, how to talk again. Certain things were coming back. I hit a wall in my recovery where the doctors basically were like, this is how you're going to be. It was grim. It was very grim. And so I've been in that hopeless situation, and it was a very long time. And, I have so much compassion for people who go through something like what I did, because if you don't have the faith and you go through something like that, and because life is filled with crosses, we all have to go through things like this, right? We all have different crosses to bear in life, all of us. For me, this was mine. And in God's goodness, he allowed our Blessed Mother to spare my life, but I didn't know why. I didn't know why did she spare my life, because here I was, like, basically just this dependent. I'm now an adult. All my dreams have vanished and been dashed away. Everything I worked for was gone. Thankfully, I have an incredible family. My mom and dad, all my brothers, everyone took care of me all those years.
Are you the only girl? You say you have 5 brothers. You're the only girl. Oh, wow.
And you're the oldest.
I bet they're super protective of you. I can't. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Wow.
Yes. And I'm sorry. It was brutal.
I mean, when you it's so casual to say for 4 years, right? Like, to think
it's a long time.
4 years is
a
whole high school or college degree.
Yes, that is an incredible amount of time, and to be in a state of not knowing, fully how things are going to come out. How did you, how did you take that day by day, or what did that look like?
I have to, I credit my faith and my mom. My mom is such an angel and a woman of such great faith. And her positivity always, she would always say, it's going to be okay.
Wow.
And even if they didn't think so, she said that. My parents said that. And there's something to be said for, because your mindset is everything. And there is something to be said for having that kind of support. And not everybody has that. And I'm so aware of the blessing that I had in that, because I know that not everyone who has gone through what I have has that support that I had. And that was very critical and crucial for me. And never giving up. You never stop praying. Like, I would be lying if I said I was always my super happy, positive self, because I wasn't. I
Yeah,
went through
that's
all
my
the
next question is
yeah.
how did you get yourself out of the funk? Because I've been in situations not like yours, but I mean I could use some advice on when I get myself into what I call my pity
Yeah,
party, right? And I throw
I
myself
hear you.
and I feel like I would throw the biggest pity party in that
I hear you.
situation. I don't
It's true.
how did you so obviously you found yourself in like a roller coaster with that? Like did you come in and
I
out of the pity party in those
Oh
moments?
yeah. I was definitely in pity party mode, like all the time, actually. I was mad. I was mad at God. I went through all the stages that you go through of grief and loss. Like, why did this happen to me? What did I do to deserve this? I
Yeah.
mean, in 4 years, a lot happens. Uber was invented during that time. Like, I mean, everyone's lives went on. So many things happened when I was down and out of the
Yeah.
world. I had
Yeah.
friends meet someone, get married, and have a baby. I mean, I was
Right.
bedridden at my parents'
Yeah.
house. So
Yeah.
it's very, yes, lots of pity parties. And I will say this, for me, it was just, I had this when I was, okay, here's a good example. I was bedridden a lot of the times because I would have what was called like at these episodes. And I had this beautiful picture of the Virgin Mary on my wall that I had gotten in, I think, Spain or something years before. And it was always right there. And so when I was in bed in excruciating pain, in just these darkest moments, feeling so alone and just like, I didn't want to be here anymore, I would look at that picture and then I would be reminded she did spare my life.
Yeah.
So there must have been a reason.
Right.
There must be a reason. I don't know what it is. I mean, am I meant to suffer and be like this for the rest of my life? I was thinking that was the case and I didn't want that. And I would always pray like, God, take me. I wanted God to take me.
Yeah.
You know what? I am so happy that all of my prayers during those horrific years were never answered, because I
Wow.
would never have the amazing life that I live now. Never.
Wow.
Now, I never could have imagined that I would be where I am now, but that's part of trusting in God's plan. And so that's why I have chosen to use my story to really inspire people. Like, if you're in those pity party moments, in which we all have in various degrees and varying stages in life, because it's part of life and it's normal. It's normal. Remind yourself, surrender to God and his plan, because his ways and his plans are so much greater than our own. His plans for me have always consistently been better than what I've always asked for.
So what did that look like so do you had a surrender moment when you were going through this, when you were bedridden?
Or
And
did you have 100?
you did the bargaining, probably was the next stage. Like, hey, I'm going to bargain. I'm going to try to bargain with you, God. If you do this, then I'll do that. And then eventually, I've been there, and I'm like, if you do this, I'll do that, Lord, and blah blah blah. And eventually, I'm like, I'm not bargaining. I'm just letting my guard down.
I've been in the pity party. I'd be like, I surrendered.
Like,
Tuesday.
Yeah, right.
Why am I still going through this Thursday?
I hear you. It's a hard, listen, I am the first one to say that getting to like that actual point of surrender is one of the hardest things to do, because most of the time when we say I surrender, let's be honest, we're not really, we're just like, we still want what we want. We still want the same, we still want the outcomes that we want. Right? Surrender. Like, that's most of the time what it is. So for me, what ended up happening was God and his amazing, good, incredible plan. I would have these therapeutic massages, right? Because I was mostly bedridden and just in constant pain. And so I had this lovely Christian girl who was my masseuse. And, she would know the drill. I would be finished and then I would hold on to the walls and then throw up, and my mom would pick me up. I mean, it was really it was horrible. And she had compassion on me. And she one day said, Cheri, I have a friend or a client who's a naturopathic doctor, and I just feel like I need to introduce you. Would you mind? And of course, I mean, I'm willing to try anything. I was just like,
Yeah.
I was at that stage. This was like 3.5 years in my recovery. I mean, what have I got to lose? And so that was, for me, was the answer to years of prayer, because this naturopathic doctor was the game changer for me. And just to make a long story short, I finally then saw the light at the end of the tunnel for me. Like there was actually, after all these years, a glimmer of hope, because I pretty much figured I'm never going to have a life again. That's what I was told. So I really just, but then it was like, whoa, wait a minute, maybe I could. So then a few months go by after this, and oddly enough, it was when I was slowly starting to get better. That's when I actually hit rock bottom, because it was like, here I was all these years being down, horrific pain, lost everything, out of the world. And now suddenly I'm starting to get better. What am I going to do with my life?
Oh, yeah.
What am I supposed to do now? I'm a little bit older. I feel like this brain damaged girl. All these things, insecurities rise up. I was a mess. And all these years I had wanted God to take my life. And here I was getting better. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do now? So I remember it very clearly. And I want everyone to know, you have to get to this point, because it sucks, but it's necessary. I was in the back porch of my parents' house. It was nighttime. And I just started crying. I was looking up at the stars in the sky. And I just said, Father, wherever you want me to go, I'll go. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do. Just show me what it is I'm supposed to do with my life. What do you want me to do? Why did you spare my life? And now I'm getting better. I don't know what you want. I don't know what you have to show me. You have to lead me. And I meant it. I really, truly, for the first time, meant it. That means if God wanted me to go to Timbuktu and basket weave, I would have done it. I gave up all my dreams of everything, which was getting married and having a bunch of kids and all the normal things that I just felt like was taken from me. And I really, truly meant it. I was fully surrendered. You have to get to that place in life in order to truly figure out and find out what is your mission from God. And we all have one. We all have a special purpose in this life. It's a beautiful thing. That's how good God is. Everyone has a beautiful purpose and mission, and every single person matters. And so after I did that, I'm telling you, sometimes God works slow, sometimes he works fast. I'm telling you, after that night, a few weeks later, my mom gets a phone call. It's from this nonprofit my parents had been talking to. She randomly talks to my mom and invites me to go speak at the National Institute of Health in Washington, D.C.
Wow.
I go, right? This is a few months later. I go. These people from Switzerland who are starting up this nonprofit see me. Next thing you know, I'm on a plane to Switzerland and I'm the U.S. ambassador. All these things started just popping up for me, just randomly.
Giving you
I was able
a platform.
Yeah, I was able to notice that and recognize that this was from God and this is what he wanted me to do. And I knew that, okay, if I'm going to be given a second chance at life, I'm going to make it count. I'm going to do so much good and do so many good things and help so many people. And I don't want anyone to ever go through what I did.
Yeah.
And I felt this just fire within me. And I was like, okay, God, I get it. And I'm telling you, these things started happening. And then lo and behold, this movie Roe v. Wade, that was another thing that popped up. Next thing you know, I'm one of the executive producers. And I never expected to go back into Hollywood. That was never on my radar, ever, ever, ever.
Had you ever
But God
produced?
has other plans.
Had you ever produced anything before?
No, no, no.
Wow.
I'm telling you, this is how God works. Because when you truly surrender and you give your life over to him so that he could then use you for good in the world, he'll use you. He'll
Wow.
start using you. And that is what
You're
ends
like-
up happening.
You're like this like God
It's
using some
amazing.
steroids, like really, like,
Yeah,
okay,
right.
and we'll just do this on a silver platter, and now we'll just make you this. So when you said ambassador, what does that look like? What can you explain that just briefly, like
Sure.
what that looks like as far as being an ambassador?
Yes. So hang on, guys, my battery on my Mac is going to hang on.
Oh, it's so good. He
Oh,
can
yeah.
even edit
I
that
can
out.
edit this
I
out,
just did
so-
a
Okay. Sorry. Yes, being an ambassador is so fulfilling because the nonprofits that I'm involved in, so the Women's Brain Project in Switzerland, it's now since been called the Women's Brain Foundation.
Mhm.
It's the first of its kind where there's finally research being done, scientific research on women's health, because I actually experienced so many female specific effects from my TBI. And believe it or not, there's never actually been any research done on this. And
Wow.
men and women are beautifully different.
Yeah.
I have 5 brothers. It's very different. And so it's been very exciting to be a part of that. And, I had doctors just say, just go on the pill, that'll help you. How would that even, I had a traumatic brain injury. What does that have to do with anything?
Right.
So that's what's been going on for far too long. So I'm very much into health and all of these things. And again, I just really want to, make a difference. I don't want anyone to have to go through what I did. And so it's very fulfilling.
Yeah. Do you feel that you would have, if you would have gone to the naturopath earlier, you would have been healed earlier, faster in that sense, or was that just where you were in your healing process that what they did worked, the therapies that they worked better?
I don't want my mind to go there, but
Okay, yeah,
I think
yeah.
a little bit of both. It's a fair question but I think it's a little bit of both. But you know what the saints say about suffering, how it is purifying. It is.
Mhm.
I mean, would I ever want to go through that again? No. Would I ever want anyone to go through what I did? Never. I wouldn't wish it on anyone.
Yeah.
But I do recognize now in hindsight the beauty of what that was for me. God kept me hidden all those years and I understand was making me ready for the mission he has for me, because my life is so amazing now and it's unbelievable. And who would have ever thought, me having this traumatic brain injury, being bedridden for years and not even knowing what a fork was for. I mean, to where I'm at now is just miraculous.
It's a miracle. Yeah. And not that he does those are his permissive will type things, but like you couldn't speak to somebody else unless you went through that situation. And I'm going through possibly my second back surgery. So it's like, I can help other people who have back problems and how I got better. And it's like, God uses those suffering sometimes to help other people suffering. And it's like, we don't understand it on this side of eternity, but it's for a purpose. And as Catholics, we really do believe that there is redemption in suffering.
It gives you a leg to stand on.
That if we united,
someone go through
if we united to Christ on the cross, and we get to do that. Colossians, it says we get to help what's lacking in Christ. I'm like, well, what's lacking in Christ? Well, nothing, but we get to unite ourselves
in the body of Christ.
As his body,
right?
We get to unite what's lacking. It's like he wants our response. And like you said, no one is going to get out of this life without some kind of crosses. And it's different for everybody. It could be cancer to somebody, it could be brain, it could be back, it could be depression, it could be whatever that you're going through. Just know that God he's not abandoning you. even though you feel like he's gone, and in that dark night of the soul, like St. John of the Cross says, where you feel that, but he can bring even greater things out of these dark times if we don't give up the hope, if we trust,
if you
and
allow
if
him
we
to work
surrender.
within you.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yes.
So the ambassador brought you to Europe, and you probably obviously do stuff all over the world now. So then how did that lead into producing, and like, what does that look like? Like, we hear that, like, oh, I'm a producer.
Where you at now? Wow.
Yeah. We don't know, like, most people don't know like what a producer actually does.
2018 was, oh my gosh, that was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
That's kind of crazy.
Time is flying by.
Doesn't it feel like 2018 was 2 years ago?
Yes, it does. Yeah. I know. I feel the same way. I don't know where the time goes.
Just so recent. No, that's 6 years ago.
Yeah,
right? 6 years.
I hear you. Well, what does it look like? Well, again, when you've been given a second chance at life, the last thing you want to do is go back into Hollywood. That was never on my radar. And so, I was part of making that movie Roe v. Wade with Jon Voight happen. And, I figured, funny story, I figured that when I was a part of that film, I'm never going to do another movie again, because everyone's going to know then I'm super Catholic and pro-life. And you have to think I was out of the world for years, and I was always under the radar. And so I thought, okay, well, this is just going to be a one-time thing.
Just blacklist me. That'll be fine.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. And I had that thought, when I speak now about my story, I always tell people, I had this thought in my mind, oh my gosh, everyone's going to know, should I do this? And then immediately I felt so ashamed. And I said, no, God, I'm so sorry. You spared my life. I didn't even want to go back into Hollywood and do this. You're giving me this opportunity. Who cares if I get blacklisted or something happens? It doesn't even matter. You're in charge of everything. And so for me, like, it didn't matter. And I assumed then that would just be a one-time thing. And I was just waiting to see, like, okay, what does God want me to do? Like, I need a job. And, and then lo and behold, the opposite happened. Because after I did that film, you wouldn't believe it, but like, everyone was coming out of the woodworks and like wanted me to be a part of their movie. And so it was like this just very organic, natural thing that happened that, once again, I did not seek or ask for. And that's how I know it's from God, because it's like, it was clearly a part of his plan, because it was not on my radar at all. And so that's what I've been doing these last number of years since I've been restarting my life. And so in addition to being the U.S. ambassador for the Women's Brain Project, now the Women's Brain Foundation, and then also the U.S. ambassador for the Same You Foundation in the UK, in London, I am working on a bunch of major projects right now, and a lot of big things in the works. And I just cannot like I said, I cannot believe my life. Now,
in those projects, is it as a producer or as an actress?
Yes.
Or in what capacity?
So I am pretty much a full-time producer now. And so that's people, there's a lot of things that producers do. At the end of the day, I would say that it's all about just making a movie happen. And making a movie happen is a lot of work. Every time a movie is made, it's like a miracle, because so many things have to happen and come together at the right time. And it's a lot. But I actually have found so much joy in this. And I do believe that now, it's been my mission to be a part of this beautiful, I want to say, renaissance, where we need to start making movies that are beautiful again. People want to see great movies again, which, let's be honest, there's not a lot being made, the last number of years.
Yeah, there's a lack of creativity, I feel like, in
Yes.
Hollywood. They're just regurgitating old stories and repackaging it
And
and
doing horrible sequels,
yeah,
and remakes.
like they're trying to cater to our generation by like, leave our movies
Nostalgia,
alone.
yeah.
Don't do that. Don't
Stop,
touch.
yeah.
Just leave it alone,
I
right?
know.
Like
Don't mess it up.
yeah, don't make another Parent Trap. The first two were, like so, but that's what I feel like they're doing too. And you had mentioned that you grew up on old movies. So did I. I was raised on old movies from the 1930s and 40s. And so I see so much of new movies today. He says I critique it too much, that I see right through it, really, like
Yes.
the lack of a truly a plot that makes sense and that is good and that is not, there's just, so like I said, a lack of a lack of creativity. So I see through I can't watch anything new, really. Like, it's difficult for me to stomach. I see right through it, and I see a lack of plot, a lack of creativity, and just a checklist of ideology regurgitation and trying to repackage.
The bad guy is good.
Yeah,
now,
and
it's like let the good guy, like the moral lesson, the hero's journey.
Yeah, like the movie we watched
Yes.
was a little refreshing, because actually the bad guy was bad and the good guy ended up being good. Oh wow, okay.
And
then
principled.
it was a principled person. That's why Blue Bloods is appealing to me, because you have someone with actual principles who stands by them. So it is refreshing to hear that there. And I think that as we, anytime you have the pendulum swinging so far to one way, you're going to see, it starts to come back. So when you have such a fringe takeover of things, I think you're starting to see people crave for an authenticity, for genuine,
and an opportunity for people like yourself to because there's people like us who are Catholic or have values, or who are Christian, who don't want to see sex in every scene and don't want to see drug use
that's another
and
point.
all this other things. It's like we can make those movies with class, like you said, and like reminiscent of the older movies, but where they don't have to be so cheesy.
They weren't
where
cheesy.
It's like,
you need to not hate so much on my 30s.
I'm not hating. I'm talking about the newer movies that do try to make it like the studios have come so far, where like starting from like Fireproof was like the first one, and they've gotten better to like Cabrini, like these movies that like they're talking about Cabrini being for an Oscar. That's how well that money to go to those movies and to hopefully generating money, because it takes a lot of money to make a film.
If you have to fill your movie with profanity and nudity in order to get people to see it, you're lacking in a substance. And
Amen.
Because we are in such a superficial time, right? Everybody's scrolling, everybody's superficially, just grazing the top of all news stories. There's nothing that really, when you go deep, it wakes people up. It resonates with them, and it's a powerful
medium that really can help change the culture in a positive way with good movies. Because we've seen these movies that have been recent. Like, look at The Power of the Chosen right now. It's like how many people are talking about Jesus? It's like because it's a great quality production and a story, and it makes it relevant.
Yes.
Exciting.
Oh my gosh. So you guys literally just touched on everything. It's so true. You're so right on. You're right on.
Well, as someone who's worked with young people, in my career, they really do crave an authenticity and a genuine, and they can sniff through the nonsense. So it's just it is actually a great time to be in the field that you're in. It's a great time to be in our faith, because it's exciting. We're on the other side of it. It can't be stale anymore. We don't have an option for stale and cheesy anymore. We have to be real, and we have to be relevant. And that's really cool. That's really cool that you're able to, just be thrown into this, but also
such an honor and a blessing.
Of your surrender, that you're really able to just let God use you in that capacity. So how exciting for you.
It's exciting. I'm so glad you guys share my mindset on that, because I tell people it's a beautiful time to be alive. This is a wonderful time to be alive. This is when saints are made. This is when the best things in life can happen. I mean, this is when, like you said it just perfectly. The pendulum is swinging the other way. And so we were born for these times. Queen Esther, right? We were born for these times. And what are we going to do about it? And so I see it so positively, and I get so passionate about this.
Yeah, it's an
It's
opportunity.
wonderful. Yes, and it's wonderful. Yes, absolutely. And people are craving this. You're so right. You
Yeah.
guys are so right.
So I don't know how much you could speak to what your projects are or anything like that.
Yeah.
Is it kind
Or
of
where we
not,
can,
are we not allowed
for people who are listening
know
to
anything?
find you and to help follow your work and how
Yeah.
everything's going too.
Oh, thank you guys. Well, I can't say too much right now, but like very soon, hopefully, there will be some huge announcements. And so definitely watch this space. And, I'm on Instagram. I have a website. I am part of this movement that's the very highest level in Hollywood, with people who are saying the same exact things as you are, and we're all banding together and we're doing something about it. And so if anyone wants to be an investor who's watching, please reach out to me. It's a lot. It takes a lot to make movies happen. But like I said, it's a beautiful time to be alive. And there's so many great things happening right now. I get so excited and passionate about this topic because to your guys' point, you said it perfectly. We don't need cheesy films, right? We have come a long way, which is true. But I'm all about, why don't we just make mainstream movies great again? Let's normalize values in mainstream films.
Right.
Not
just be a
necessarily
right.
Yeah, let's go all in. And that's what I'm working on. And it's not pigeonholed in any way. It's for everyone, because people are thirsting for the true, the good, and the beautiful. And that's what we need to bring them. And so it's very much needed right now. And that is, I feel like the best way to change the culture and affect society right now is it's all about the content. And we can't be cheesy, and we shouldn't be. We're Catholic. We're the epitome of what is art, because God is art. He is truth. He is beauty. He is all of these things. And the Catholic faith is the embodiment of the most beautiful art. And so, with having that cultivation and that mindset, I mean, there's no reason why we should not be creating beautiful art for everyone to enjoy and be inspired, elevated by. And I will say too, part of that, I've had, a mission that goes alongside of this is just bringing back elegance. And that's just a part of, when you're truly in the true, the good, and the beautiful, it's a natural byproduct. And so we have to bring that back, because I think a lot of young people now, they've never been exposed to any of this. And, I love the fact that, Katie, you were saying you love, old films too. So that's what I grew up on as well. And that really shaped me, because true story, I was so naive. When I went into working in Hollywood, I really thought everything was just like, the Grace Kelly era, and like I thought it was this old glamour, and everyone was very like lovely. And for me, that's what I grew up watching, and I love that about. And so I want to bring that back, because I quickly learned that was not the case when I started working in Hollywood, and I was so different. And now that I'm older and I've gone through this journey that God has put me through, I now recognize like just the beauty of what he has done in my life. And again, the reasons for everything I had to go through to get where I am now, so that I could help people and really, truly live out the mission he's given to me. So bringing back elegance, the true, the good, and the beautiful in films, TV shows, whatever we can bring to everyone out there to inspire and elevate. I mean, how great is that, right? What a great time to be alive.
I'm so excited.
Let's go. Well, Dusty, beauty will save the world. So when we lead with beautiful things, I know Bishop Benjamin's, that's their whole thing with the Word on Fire. It's like we can draw people in by the beauty. Yes. We don't have to hit them with the Bible. We can make good movies that are not, overtly Christian, but have a story of a good and versus evil, and making the right decisions and integrity. And it hit me when you're talking about the
journey is his story. It's Jesus' story. That's what I mean. His story, it just is, because God, is the author of all of our stories, and so that is the ultimate hero's journey. So so many things do stem from.
But that's those things
Jesus's
like elegance
story.
and class and those things. It really has affected me the last few months. Like I would be the guy who like, I don't really care what I wear to church. And in the last like 3 or 4 months, I've been wearing like a suit coat. Like I was just touched by a bunch of other guys are dressing up. I'm like, why am I not dressing up? It's like, it matters
Right.
how we present ourselves, especially to church. But like, get on
Bingo.
a plane today and see like women in sports bras and taking their shoes off. And it's just like, we don't have to be in suits and
guys
top
too,
hats. Well, everybody, guys, but I'm just saying that there's a balance between being, wearing a suit every day, but especially to church to take it serious.
I think that, and this can go along with your, where we are with our pro-life stance too, is I'm a big, proponent of like inherent dignity being the basis of everything. That cement block and all social teachings of the church is based in inherent dignity. When you hear different things about the good, the true, the beautiful, when you're talking about that elevation, it's an elevation of an understanding of the value of human life, and like thinking about just how architecture has changed. How when they talk about how you make these beautiful buildings because human beings go here and go into them, and how that changed, and how
churches we used to build those for God, like cathedrals for God.
Exactly.
Of the value of the human person, and that's an elevation into you are valuable. That speaks to that value. When you hold yourself higher to a higher esteem, to dress up and to look that part. Not all the time. Not saying you're better than any, but it's just I have value, and I'm going to carry myself with that value. And I think that too much of our society and our culture have devalued human beings and forced them to prove themselves to earn that value. That I think this just flips the script.
Absolutely. You are saying everything that I completely agree with, you guys. It all goes hand in hand. And it does stem from this, like, we've lost, the value of human life. And so in that has now come everything else. Like, I mean, when you don't even value life, then what do you value? Like, you end up valuing nothing. And so we are seeing this across the board. And, I can only speak as a woman, but, I tell women, we have to encourage one another and elevate each other, because like, wasn't it Fulton Sheen who said, like, a society can be, what was it? The level of society
measured by
the standards that the women
of the women. Yes. When I read that, I was like, "Oh, that's a lot of pressure," but it's so true. It is
true, though.
It is.
One of my favorite quotes ever.
I mean, that was her standards were high, and she set them. That made me raise my elevation to be able to be worthy of her. It's like, make yourself. You have that value. Like, don't you already have it. It's like, make the guys rise to you. You don't go down to their level.
That's right. That's
when I taught that to teenagers, I would have students come back to me after a class and say, Mrs. Fredrickson, I've been in Catholic school my whole life, and this is their 9th graders now, so year 9, and I never knew the church taught that, the inherent dignity, the value thing. I'm like, I said, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry that you went through all those years of Catholic school not being told your value. Oh my gosh.
Right.
I'm sorry. And so it's just, but that's another why behind the what. Why do we have these strict, rules, especially regarding, sexuality and different components of that? Because you're worth it and you have value, right? And not because we're trying to take away your good time.
Exactly. Exactly. There's a why. And that just goes back. You're so right. It goes back to exactly how we started this conversation. It's when you understand the truth and how beautiful it is, everything else makes sense. And it does translate into how we present ourselves to the world. And, I tell people, my motto is be the light. You might be the only Bible someone reads that day. And you are the one who, God is calling to be out in the world. You want people to see you and be like, okay, what do they believe? There's something different about them. Like they're kind, they value themselves and others. Like, we are called, we're not of this world. Like, we are called to be that light in the world. And it's very fulfilling when you embrace that. And the world wants you to think that embracing this is going to bring you down or something, but it's the opposite. It's very liberating. It's very liberating.
Yes.
Well, especially
and
that
joy.
light. One candle lights up a very dark room. It only takes one
Yes.
candle to light it up. I love that motto, the light. And it doesn't, when you share your light with somebody else, it doesn't take away from your light.
That's
It
right.
just helps spread it. It's like love multiplies. It never takes it away. So that's a beautiful model.
I think that another thing that I've learned from you in this conversation, aside from the surrender and the, you know, that pity parties are okay, right? And that eventually leads to the
we
surrender.
all have them.
You know, I think that what was I going to say? Hold on, you might need to edit this out. I was going somewhere with this.
What about? Well, it's just all about timing and exactly how everything. My favorite Bible verse is Romans 8:28. All things work together for those who love God according to the purpose. And we don't understand it. It's hard.
I had a good point. I lost it.
I bet you did.
It'll come back to me.
It's all right. Well,
it'll come
You're
back
gonna say
to me.
something else that you learned. Something else that you learned from this conversation.
And my brain just lost it.
That's all right.
Oh,
I'll tell you an interesting little thing. Maybe this will spark your memory. My birthday is December 13. It's actually known as the darkest day of the year, right? But because of that, it's called the Day of Light. It's the feast day of Santa Lucia, St. Lucy.
Yeah.
And so that's my birthday. And so when I was restarting my life and, you know, all of these natural organic progressions have happened, and I find myself in this situation now, which I didn't expect. And people were like, okay, what's the topic of your talk? And because now I'm an international speaker now, which again is wild. I never set out to do that. And, you know, they would ask me, what is the title, or, you know, what is your motto? And it was just a natural thing, be the light, because the more I thought about it, the more I thought, you know, I remember not feeling the light in all those years of darkness, but it was always there. Mm-hmm. And people need to know, like, it is always there. Even if you don't feel it or see it, God is always there. He's always there. Just go through it, keep going, never give up, because then you'll figure out later on why you had to go through that. Just like what I did. You know, I'm so thankful. Again, I'm so thankful God didn't answer my prayers. I mean, I wanted him to take me. I was done. I was like,
that was what my point was. So the with that, how darkness will try so hard to stifle it, right? So like in those moments, but then also right when you were going to produce that movie, you thought, well, this will get me blacklisted, right? Like it's that negativity, because I find that when I come from such a strong, I do have a positive, I lean positive. I find that, you know, I'm not pessimist. I'm an optimistic person, and I'm finding myself becoming more and more drained by negativity. Like the negativity just stifles me. It drains me. It brings me down. I need the positivity to keep my positivity going. And it's in those moments that you need to be able to discern that darkness trying to pull you away from what you're being called to do, because he's going to work harder against you. And I never had that before. I was always just a positive person, you know? But as I got closer to what God was calling me to do, or closer to something else, the negativity got closer to, right? And puts those negative, that darkness. And so to just find that light within those dark conflicts that we might have, right? And especially when we're discerning what God is wanting us to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so right.
The darkness is necessary. I mean, if it wasn't God, it's like with the weed and the weeds, like God doesn't want to get rid of that, because people have those people have an opportunity to repent, or maybe God uses those people around us to
when you're trying to discern what God is wanting you to do, the devil's going to come at you at what
for sure,
isn't
the spiritual
thing to do, and you're going to be in that conflict constantly.
Yeah, those dark night of the soul.
To be able to allow God to show you, well, what is it that you want? You know, that surrender, and what is it that you want, and expose that darkness, that this isn't of God. You know, to be able to discern that takes prayer and takes time and thought, and you have to think about those things too. And
the rosary
happening.
The rosary is That's it. I know
Yeah.
we both pray it. I've been recently, I don't know, for like last 4 months praying every day. I was a sporadic
Right.
rosary prayer, but I was like the Divine Mercy. But now since I've been doing it every day, everything's changed for me.
See,
Yeah.
It's just
the
been awesome.
rosary is
That's
very, very powerful. It's very powerful. And to your point, Katie, you know, when the darkness does creep in, because I think we're similar that way. Like I'm also just a very optimistic, positive person, but like when that creeps in, or people are so negative nowadays, and it's tough because it is draining. I find that praying the rosary is what really is a great remedy for that. It's like when you hold your rosary beads, it's like holding on to our Blessed Mother's hand.
Wow.
Think of it that way when you're
Yeah.
praying it. And just, again, just give that surrender. And let me tell you something. She is so, she's so real and so amazing. Not only did she spare my life, but ever since then, the miracles, the countless miracles I've experienced since then, restarting my life, have been enormous. And I can't say that enough. Pray the rosary. Pray the rosary.
Oh, amen.
That's a beautiful place to end it. I don't want to keep you too long. You've been gracious with your time with us.
This has been a great conversation.
It's been an unbelievable conversation.
So great.
Listening and watching. Where can we find you on Instagram? What's your website?
So thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. I really enjoyed this. It's lovely talking to you. The time has gone by so quickly, which is a great sign.
Right.
Everyone can find me. It's very easy. It's cheriballinger.com. And on Instagram, just Cheri Ballinger. And again, it's French. So Cheri with an accent over the E. And yeah, you know, stay tuned for updates because there are a lot of exciting things happening right now.
Yay.
And it's just, I just feel so grateful and so blessed. And, you know, it takes a lot of people to make things happen. And God has put me in the midst of some really amazing people. And I'm really grateful for that. And so to be able to share my story with you all and your audience, just remember, never give up. There's always hope. And be the light.
What a great story.
Amen.
Wow.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We really do appreciate it. I'll share on the post and all your socials and all that stuff. So we'll be able to get a hold of you and stay tuned because there's some big things happening.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.